a sunny but dark day. As people woke up, they thought it was going to be just another normal day. But to everyone's surprise, this day was going to be far from normal. 19 al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 American airliners. The 4 planes were bound for San Francisco and Los Angeles, but these planes would never reach their destination. Instead, the terrorists would change their course. American Airlines Flight 11 would head towards the World Trade Center's North Twin Tower. United Airlines Flight 175 would head towards the World Trade Center's South Tower. American Airlines Flight 77 would head towards the Pentagon, and United Airlines Flight 93 was suspected to head towards the White House, but crashed in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. At 9:37, at 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Twin Tower. At 9:37 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 crashed into the South Twin Tower. At 10:10 a.m., Flight 93 crashed in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. As I read this to you, images were racing through my head. Images of people jumping from buildings to their deaths, firefighters emerging out of the thick smoke, and people running for their lives. I was 7 on September 11, 2001, and this didn't mean as much to me as it does now. I was in school in my computer class as our principal came over the intercom telling all of our teachers to turn on the TV. And as the TV came on, all of the images that I just talked about were racing across the TV screen. It was hard to believe. It looked like a movie. I was 7, and I remember where I was. Where were you? How did you feel? God bless the victims of 9/11. God bless the rescue workers. And God bless America.
Well, first I want to start off by thanking Travis for putting this all together. I mean, it's just a true testament to what the youth in Michigan can really do. Yeah. So as we gather here today to honor the memory of 9/11, I'm sure we can all remember where we were that day. I was in 2nd grade, and they actually didn't tell us about it in school. It wasn't until my mom picked me up from school, which was kind of a surprise to me because I was supposed to ride the bus home, that I found out what had happened. When she told me that the World Trade Center, the Twin Towers had collapsed and were attacked, for some reason I pictured them being smokestacks. I don't know why. And I didn't really understand, what had happened until I got home. So once I got home, of course, that was all over the television, and I saw what had happened, but it didn't really set in. What I was more concerned about actually was making sure I could spell Afghanistan right so I could impress the class by telling everybody, who we had come under attack by. Though, as the weeks progressed and we started to learn more about what was happening in our country, about 3,000 civilians murdered senselessly by Islamic terrorists, troops being mobilized to this country far off that nobody's ever heard of, and our freedoms being under attack, then it really did start to sink in, even for a 2nd grader. So, it's really important that the youth of our generation realize what our freedoms really mean. They can't take them for granted, and it seems like any age groups below mine don't remember what happened on September 11th. They were too young. I mean, not their fault, but it's up to us to remind them and let them know, what actually happened and how that changed our country. Seems like a lack of nationalism among young people these days. Right after 9/11, nationalism was at its peak. There was 90-some% approval rating for President Bush. And everybody loved America. Flags were flying everywhere. And it's a shame that 10 years from then, that's not happening anymore. So, like I said, it's up to us to make sure the youth, and everybody else for that matter, is really appreciative of the freedoms that we have here in America. So God bless you all for coming out again, and again, God bless you, Travis, putting this all together. It's just an amazing event. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Thede. I'm chairman of the Republican Party here in Mecosta County. And as that, I guess I should also thank Travis. Somebody asked how much of this I had to do with, and basically Travis asked if I come and say a few words and show up. And that's pretty much what I've done. And Travis and the teens came up with this entire idea, did all the fundraising to be able to support it, put together every detail. We didn't think about whether there was going to be a microphone here or anything today. And so I really congratulate Travis on this. He's been quite a leader in this area. You know, today the stock market's down, folks. Unemployment's up. People are pretty sad about a lot of things going on. But today, and especially today, I have great hope for America and great hope that the American character will live on. Our founders enumerated in the Declaration of Independence some inalienable rights. One of those is not only stated as a right, but almost a mission statement for us, and that is the pursuit of happiness. Isn't that amazing that they would say that? It was a radical idea to think that a nation could be built on the idea of individuals pursuing happiness. It was something unheard of in the world at that time. Now, the happiness that's talked about here, this pursuit of happiness, is the idea of personal fulfillment, of things that make life worthwhile, of an occupation, a partner in life, children, the worship of God. Now, true happiness, of course, can only happen in the right environment, because it has to be an environment of freedom where people can choose as individuals the happiness that will really work for them. It's freedom that allows people to enjoy the choice of their unique paths, what they believe will suit them best, the occupation, the partner they want to spend their lives with, the way they raise their children to be the people they want them to be, the way they see fit to worship God as God leads their conscience. It's only with freedom that we can truly have the happiness and fulfillment that the pursuit of happiness is all about. Freedom is therefore the prerequisite, if you will, for the pursuit of happiness, our mission. The freedom that was passed down to us had its own prerequisite, though, and that was courage. And that's why today, especially today, I am so hopeful for America. This past week has been filled with stories of great courage from 9/11/2001. Some acts of courage were by first responders who rushed in without hesitation, buildings aflame, as has been mentioned, people jumping out windows, the most horrific scene that probably most of us have ever seen or will ever see in our lives. And they rushed in without hesitation. And to some extent, we say, as we honor those in our police and fire out here, that we kind of expect that a little bit from them. But it's still amazing when we see it. But in addition, it was other people who were just going on with their daily lives. There was a motorman of the subway train who waited under one of the towers and watched and waited as they packed every possible person they could into that train before he sped off. And he saved all of those lives because he didn't panic. He was courageous, and he carried them out. There were ordinary people who just left the safety of their offices or their stores and ran to give whatever aid they could to strangers, people they'd never seen before and would never see again. And then, of course, there was the first attack in response by the passengers of Flight 93, who found themselves in a difficult situation and decided to seal their fate in a field in Pennsylvania rather than risk the lives of other Americans. In the decades since, Courage has been displayed by hundreds of thousands of our members of the armed forces throughout the world. In faraway places, they have volunteered to put themselves in harm's way. Thousands have lost their lives. Many more have been seriously injured. And they have asked for nothing in return, other than that they be part of passing on our legacy of freedom. Even today, average citizens in New York and Washington and other places went about their daily lives undeterred by the fact that there were credible threats today, that people want to take their lives simply because they're Americans. But they were not deterred. They went on about their lives. They showed courage. Courage is alive and well in America. And so what we see then is really a circle. The pursuit of happiness that needs freedom, and freedom that needs courage, and the exercise of courage that more than anything is a pursuit of happiness that far exceeds anything an individual could ever do for themselves, and makes this the greatest nation in the history of the world. Thank you.
I'm your state representative, Phil Potvin, and I'm honored to be here today. Thank you very much, Travis, and your family for all that you have done to help us remember America and remember those that have given their lives so that we again can continue our freedom. Heavenly Father, we have gathered here today to remember, honor, and resolve. We remember that 10 years ago, a great tragedy struck our nation. We remember that thousands of people's lives were changed forever on that fateful day. We remember that those who died were not statistics, but mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters. We remember that you are the God of all comfort and mercy, and we ask you to touch the many today who are still grieving. We honor those today whose lives were cut short in pursuit of their dreams. We honor those who answered the call that day and gave the ultimate gift of love. For you taught us, Father, that greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for a friend. We honor all that have perished. And today, we resolve to live each day as if this could be our last. We resolve to use our God-given talents to defend the freedom and the rights of all people. We resolve to never, never, never let evil think that it has the upper hand, but always to display that faith, hope, and love will win the day. We resolve to pay whatever price is asked of us to carry on the legacy of those who perished 10 years ago. One of those people is a Ferris State University graduate. His name was Eric Bennett. Eric was a football player, and as of the 17th of September 2001, the whereabouts of that former Bulldog football player, Eric Bennett, was unknown. A two-year starter at center, Bennett served as the executive vice president of the Alliance Consulting Group, which was located on the 102nd floor of the first World Trade Center tower, which was struck, as we know, by the terrorists. He lived and worked in New York for nearly 8 years and was last heard from as he was attempting to escape from that building. So it's just not those of us that remember, but we also have friends that were there. And I thank each and one of you, every one of you, for being here today to help us remember that. Because we must remember that we've been given a great responsibility. And we ask that our Lord guide us in the ways of truth and empower our lives so that we too will continue in unselfish service. God bless America.